Hello, everybody. Welcome to our telephone town hall meeting. We really appreciate you joining us tonight. We're going to be on for the next hour. We want you to ask questions. The best way to ask questions is to press 00 on the keypad on your phone. We'll get you up for your question. We'll read it over the air for you. But if you do have a question of the Congresswoman, we're going to be taking questions a little bit after her opening remarks and Rosemary opening remarks before that. So again, if you have a question, please press 0. That's 0 on the keypad on your phone. We want to try and get in as many questions as we can tonight. We've already got a gang of many on the phone. Rosemary, why don't you take it away, introduce yourself, and then introduce the Congresswoman, please.
Well, thank you very much, Kurt. I'm Rosemary Jenks, the Director of Government Relations for NumbersUSA. I think most of you have heard in the last few days what we have been doing because we've been asking for your help to do it. We are in a situation right now, as you know, where there is a massive surge of illegal immigration coming across our southern border, and we have a president and an administration that does not intend to stop it and instead is asking Congress for money to manage it rather than solve it. So we are very, very lucky tonight to be joined by Congresswoman Michele Bachmann, who needs no introduction, but I will tell you that she has returned. She spent the weekend on the Texas border and is going to tell us all about that and then answer some of your questions. Congresswoman Bachmann, welcome.
Rosemary, thank you. Thank you to NumbersUSA. Thank you to everyone who's on this important call tonight. This is an extremely important week, as you know, because the House of Representatives will be voting on a border bill coming up this coming Thursday. Then Congress goes into a district work period. We'll be back home in our districts for approximately 4 to 5 weeks. So Congress will be virtually unable to do anything here in D.C. They are highly unlikely to return for an emergency session. And what we know over the weekend is that the President of the United States openly declared their plan to implement a unilateral executive amnesty for somewhere between 5 and 6 million more illegal foreign nationals. This is the President issuing work permits, and this is going to take jobs directly from the American people. Let me just tell you just a couple of things that I learned this weekend, and then I want to get to your call. I feel like I know a lot about this issue. I've paid a lot of attention to it. My colleague, Representative Steve King of Iowa, was on this trip as well. He knows a lot about this issue and has probably done more in the House of Representatives to bring attention to this issue than anyone else that I know of. But this is a couple things I learned. Number one, the United States currently, in my opinion, is involved in furthering the international criminal cartel that is made up of drug cartels and human traffickers. Foreign nationals illegally living in the United States are paying money to these criminal cartels to bring other foreign nationals illegally into the United States. And this is what the criminal cartels know. They know that nearly 100% of the foreign nationals make it onto American soil, because this is the second thing you need to know. I was shocked. I love our Border Patrol. There's nothing against them. They're doing exactly what they're told to do. They're putting their lives on the line, but the politicians have failed them and the politicians have failed you, because virtually no one is stopped from coming into the United States. I want to repeat that. I thought, as a congressman going down to the border, I thought Border Patrol stops people from coming into the United States. Both Congressman King and I were floored to learn that virtually no one is stopped from coming into the United States. What the Border Patrol is, they are people processors. They process people coming in. It's a very expensive, cumbersome, bureaucratic process. And I will tell you, on Sunday afternoon at, I think it's Ramos, Texas, we were standing with Border Patrol and local police, and the Border Patrol had binoculars. Sunday afternoon, between 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon, it was 103 degrees. We were right above the Rio Grande River, and we were looking at what appeared to be the drug cartel across the river from us. They were slowly circling in their vehicles. Eventually, they stopped by the river. They opened up the back end of a silver Jeep Wrangler, and out of the back of the Jeep, they pulled out a raft. They blew it up. It was a 12-man raft. 2 men and a very large pregnant woman got into the raft with a couple of bags. They went from Mexico in broad daylight. Now it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It took them less than 10 minutes to go from Mexico, and they went directly in the boat to the United States. While we were watching, the woman got out of the boat with her bags. She said, "Are you Border Patrol? I want to surrender to you, and I'm asking for amnesty." Broad daylight. No attempt to avert themselves from the Border Patrol. While this was going on, the local police officer said to me, "Do you see the 4 guys in the back? There are 4 guys that are bringing drugs over." And they were on an island in the middle of the river. And he said, and I said, "So is this woman meant to distract us?" And he said, "Yes." Well, the drug cartel, this international cartel, won on every front. They won by having, the woman paid them maybe $8,000 to be brought up to the United States. So she won because she got into the United States and will get to stay. The international cartel won because they got her $8,000. She was a freebie because they know under Barack Obama's policy she'll get to stay. She was the diversion. So the cartel got their drugs across with the 4 other guys. Because border security has to first deal with a pregnant woman. They have to deal with people first. So the drug runners went free because there are only so many Border Patrol. This is happening every day. And while this happened, I asked the police officer next to me, "Well, how much drugs come across here at this point in Texas?" And he said, "Well, every week we interdict approximately 8,000 pounds of marijuana. 8,000 pounds. And we burn it every week." And I said, "Well, how much gets through?" He said, "We have no idea, but it's a lot." He said, "It's a steady stream." Border Patrol told us this is a 24/7 operation. It isn't more sometimes of the year than others. It isn't more at night than it is in day. They are brazen. They are coming across. There is effectively no border security because there is no stopping of anyone that is coming across the border. I have a lot to say because we saw a lot. We went from Boca Chica, the mouth of the Rio Grande River, through Brownsville, through McAllen, through La Jolla. We went up to Laredo. We traversed the entire Texas border from Boca Chica to Laredo over the weekend. We talked to everyone we could. We talked virtually only to Hispanic Texans along the border, American citizens. And to a person, they also were disgusted with the president, disgusted with Congress. And they said, when is somebody going to get serious and build a real fence? When are we going to get serious and really deport, and deport right on the border? And that's what I think we need to do. I believe if we have to use eminent domain, we use eminent domain. But we build a real fence along the entire border. It needs to be well lit. It needs to have surveillance. It needs to have border guards on either side. We need to have then boats where there are waterways. That needs to be patrolled 24/7. If anyone somehow gets into the United States, they have to be adjudicated on the spot and deported on the spot. And Mexico, El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala, those countries are laughing at us because they're making money with their corrupt governments in conjunction with these international criminal cartels. They're all making money in kickbacks. What I believe we should do is have a 100% tax on remittances, the money that illegal aliens send back to these countries. If we had a 100% tax on these remittances, the money that goes back, we would have a phone call in 5 minutes from the presidents of these countries saying, what can we do? We want to keep this money flowing into our economy. What we have to recognize is this truly is a war against the American people. And if we don't act like it and take this border seriously, we're going to have even more criminal gangs. I'll end with this. Border Patrol told me this extremely violent gang, MS-13, that is the international criminal cartel, that we are facilitating them to be able to run into the United States with their contraband. There are 50,000 members of this very dangerous gang. Let me tell you how dangerous it is. The TSA agent at the airport in Laredo told us as we were leaving the airport that MS-13 had just killed and hung from a bridge 8 people, including women. They decapitate people, they hang people, they brutalize people. This is just across the Rio Grande in Mexico. He said it goes on all the time. There are 50,000 of those criminal gang members. 20% of that gang lives in the United States. 20%, 10,000. And as you and I are having this conversation, there's a little over 1 million legal immigrants that we allow into the United States every year, more than all the other countries of the world combined. But we have that many coming across our border who are illegal foreign nationals. And we need to recognize that the beachheads that have been established in the United States with MS-13, dangerous criminal gangs, they are increasing their ranks because 80 to 85% of the foreign nationals coming into the United States are males over the age of 14. Gang recruitment material. This is part of what I saw on the border. I look forward to your questions and comments, and we're going to have a really, I think, positive time together this evening.
Congresswoman Bachmann, let me start out the questions with a couple of my own. First of all, did you get a sense as to the morale of the Border Patrol agents when essentially their hands are tied and they're just there to process these people into the United States instead of turning them back?
They understand clearly that this is a problem, but they also are doing what we've asked them to do. I have nothing against any of the law enforcement. One thing that Congressman King and I saw is that everybody is doing the job they were told to do. Border Patrol is processing the people as fast as they can. They really are also a glorified taxi cab service because they spend a lot of time and resources driving illegal foreign nationals to shelters, to bus depots. You can't believe the amount of time that they spend just on transportation. As far as their morale seemed pretty good. All of them are required to speak Spanish. Their morale is pretty good, but again, they don't see themselves as their job being to stop any foreign nationals from coming in, because that's not what the politicians are asking them to do. We were floored. We were flabbergasted. We actually thought Border Patrol stops people. They don't stop anybody. They process people. So they're doing what they're asked to do. The shelters do what they're asked to do by the Department of Health and Human Services. These shelters are run by nonprofits. The local police officers aren't enforcing immigration, but there's a lot of crime that comes in. So the local police officers are doing what they're supposed to do, but they don't deport. Border Patrol doesn't deport. No one is stopping this.
And so with that being said, does the House bill that you all are supposed to vote on Thursday, at this point, does that bill address this problem? Does it fix it?
No, not at all. There are some good things in the bill. One thing they do is they do have more judges to deal with deportations, but let's be honest, the end result of these additional judges and hearings will be more illegal immigrants coming into the United States. More of them will gain asylum, and more of them will gain access to our welfare system. So what this plan is about is to expedite more asylum for illegal aliens, not to expedite their removal from the United States. There is nothing to get the fence built, nothing for immediate deportation, nothing that would actually solve the problem on the border.
And at the same time, we have President Obama telling the world that he is going to grant his own amnesty, a bigger amnesty, as soon as you all leave town for August. Is that right?
Well, that was the trial balloon that was sent up last weekend, that if the House doesn't act, in other words, if we don't grant immediate amnesty, he will grant amnesty by giving up to 5-6 million work permits to illegal aliens. Well, the president is the one that has encouraged this because in his DACA bill, not bill, but just his DACA pronouncement, which is illegal on its face, he allows for work permits. And so I think that's where the president said that he had authority before when he didn't, and he'll further the non-existent authority when he grants the work permits. But I think that will absolutely infuriate the American people. People will call for Barack Obama's impeachment. John Boehner announced this morning in conference he will not be impeaching the president because this last weekend, Democrats, just through a scare campaign, raised $2.5 million at the Democrat website just by the fear of President Obama getting impeached. So I don't think that John Boehner is going to bring about impeachment, which I understand, because what we really need is to remove Barack Obama from office, and the Senate has the power to remove the president, not the House. The Senate is not going to remove him. So all we would do is effectively make the president a political martyr by impeaching him, but he would be even more emboldened to be lawless. So that's not going to work. So what the Constitution allows us to do, we have the power to defund this president in important ways. I think we do need to defund this president, but we also have the power to hold accountable his officials. For instance, I would nominate the head of Homeland Security, who will execute the laws on the border. And I think that we need to have a hearing, and we need to, if need be, bring about articles of impeachment and tell the president that if you issue these work permits, we are going to hold the person accountable who is going to execute your lawless law, and we will bring that person up for betrayal of public trust, and we'll impeach that official.
Kurt, do we have some questions from our audience?
We do, but we have a couple of house cleaning items, if we can, to take care of. We want to drive people to the website, of course, and that's if we could, because we want people to start calling up their congresspeople if they could. NumbersUSA.com. That's NumbersUSA.com. There is an action button to do such on that website. So we hope tomorrow, not now, but tomorrow, our listeners will go to NumbersUSA.com and go essentially to the action button and call your congresspeople up and tell them to, well, Rosemary's going to fill you in on what to tell them. Anyway,
yes.
Past that, one more thing. If you wanted to donate, because it does cost money to do these calls and keep people informed, and that's our mission, please press 7. That's 7 on the keypad on your phone. We'll have somebody call you back in the next week or so, not tonight, so you don't get interrupted. But if you'd like to donate and have somebody give you a shout in the next week or two, that would be great. And you press 7 on the keypad on your phone to do such a thing like that. We really appreciate your participation. We do have a question from Benita. Why don't we enforce the laws already on the books? Why can't we kick Obama out of office? And I know we talked about the latter part, but the first part, why don't we enforce the laws we already have on the books?
Because the president want to. Effectively, the U.S. taxpayers are paying for a voter registration drive for the president and his party. That's what this is about. The president doesn't seem to be breaking a sweat about this, does he? He's not worried about it. He didn't go to the border. And just so that you know, the incident that I described to you of the illegal aliens coming across from Mexico to the United States, I videotaped that entire sequence. You can watch this video. We're putting it up on my website right now, bachmann.house.gov. And also, Rosemary, if you want me to send this video to NumbersUSA, and if you want to put this video up on your website, please do. I'll be more than happy to give it to you. But I have the video, the full video recorded Sunday afternoon about just how brazen this process is.
Yes, we would absolutely love to put that on our website. And I just want to remind people that tomorrow morning we need all of you, every one of you, to call your members of the House of Representatives, which you can find on your action board on our website, and tell them to vote no on the emergency supplemental because it does not solve the problem and it does not repeal the DACA amnesty.
This next question is from Janet. How does the president get away with everything he's been getting away with? From Janet.
Well, the reason why he's getting away with everything, Janet, is because Congress hasn't had the courage to use the two tools that we have. One is defunding him, and we're very powerful. We're the most powerful part of the whole government. We have the credit card, the House of Representatives. We have the power of the purse. We decide if one dime is included in any appropriation. Now, the Senate has to agree, and the president has to agree, but we're the starting point. Again, if we don't give the president money, he doesn't have power to do certain things. And so I really believe that the House of Representatives should have so far, and should in fact going forward, defund the president everywhere we possibly can. And then second, the president has laid a card down on the table, and that card is he said, I dare you to impeach me, because I am going to grant amnesty to 5 to 6 million people. What are you going to do about that? I stood up today and said to John Boehner and to all the Republicans in Republican conference that we cannot leave and go home for August without answering the president's challenge, because he may grant those work permits. So I said, what we need to do is lay our card down on the table. And I think that card needs to be that we will defund the president, whatever it is, and then that he can expect the individual who carries out his lawless order, let's say it is the Director of Homeland Security, that we will begin immediately hearings for the purpose of impeaching that cabinet member for betrayal of public trust, because that's our responsibility under the Constitution, which it is.
We have our first one of two polling questions tonight. Do you think the Congress should provide additional funding to President Obama to deal with the border situation? If you think the answer is yes, they should provide funding, press 1. No, press 2. And if you're unsure, press 3. Press the keypad on your phone to tell us what you think. Do you think Congress should provide additional funding to President Obama to deal with the border situation? 1 is yes, 2 is no, and 3 is unsure. We'll reveal the results soon. The next question comes in from Chris. How do we pay for medical costs and schooling for all these people?
Oh, it's extremely expensive. It's billions and billions of dollars. That's why you see the President of the United States asking for more money. The bulk of the money is going for health and human services, for education, for medical. When illegal foreign nationals come across the border in McAllen, Texas, for instance, they are given a medical exam. They are given complete immunizations. If there's any issue, they are taken by ambulance to the emergency room at McAllen. Just the emergency room visit is $1,200. I don't know what the ambulance cost is, so it's very, very expensive. I asked Border Patrol about Islamist radicals coming over the border. And they said that, yes, there are people that have come from, I think it is 142 countries. They have cataloged people who have come from Iran, Iraq, Syria, Yemen, hot Sudan, hot spots all across the globe. Isn't that weird? They make the trip through Mexico to walk across the border. There's, again, a very real issue. So I went over to the National Counterterrorism Center here in Washington, D.C. I sit on the House Intelligence Committee. We deal with the nation's classified secrets and terrorism. And I asked them, they know that there are people who have come across the border who aren't Mexicans, who aren't from Central America, who come from these terrorist countries. And I asked them, when these people come across the border, are we taking retina scans of them? That's the platinum level identifier for someone. And I asked, are we taking their scans? No, we are not. What are we doing to identify them? They're taking a digital photo and fingerprints. That's the extent of what we're doing with people that we suspect to be terrorists. And I just want you to know, as far as like criminal foreign nationals go, today in Texas, there are 37,000 criminal foreign nationals sitting in detention awaiting deportation. They cost between $80 and $180 a day per person. Well, let me tell you this. If we have 37,000 that we have in detention, imagine how many criminal foreign nationals there are floating around the United States. It's absolutely frightening.
Thank you, Congresswoman. A couple more reminders. Rosemary, tell people about the call to action, if you would, please, on the website, NumbersUSA.com.
Yes, if you go on NumbersUSA.com and you go to your action board, you will find all the actions that we have asked you to do. It will include the names and phone numbers of your representative and senators. We've set up faxes for you to send to them. But most importantly right now, since the vote is on Thursday, is to call your House representative and tell them to vote no on the emergency supplemental because it does not solve the border crisis and it does not stop Obama's executive amnesties, which is the draw for the illegal aliens coming across.
And let me just remind people one more time, if they want to donate, we got more than 100 people to press 7 before. If you'd like to donate and have us call you back in the next week or so, please press 7. What we do with that money is we call you, we get people mobilized and do calls to action and stuff like that with the money. So if you wouldn't mind donating, that'd be great. Press 7 on the keypad on your phone if you have an interest. We really appreciate it. And again, within the next week, we'll give you a shout. But we won't interrupt you while you're calling up Congress. We want you to get that done first, if you wouldn't mind, please. The next question is from Jeff, and let me rustle it up here. I understand there are now border signs in Chinese telling illegals how to get here. Do we have a big problem with Chinese coming across illegally? And again, that's from Jeff. Congresswoman?
Jeff, yes, there are Chinese that are coming across. I did not get a number, but when we were in Laredo, Texas, this past Sunday, the Border Patrol there told us that so far this year, just in Laredo, 5,800 Cubans have come across the border. And the American policy is wet foot, dry foot. If a Cuban is interdicted on water, they are sent back to Cuba. If they put 1 foot on American soil, they are allowed to stay and they are automatically granted asylum. So what Cubans are doing, rather than traversing the 90 miles from Cuba to Florida, they're going 40 miles from Cuba to, I think it's Mexico, and then they come up to the border, and they've been very successful coming through Laredo. From Laredo, they buy a plane ticket, and about 99% of them go to Miami. So we have a huge number of Cubans that are coming in right now. There are Chinese. There are people, I mean, like I said, Border Patrol told us from 142 countries, they know, they've got the message that our southern border is virtually open. And as I said before, our Border Patrol, they're doing what the politicians have told them to do. The problem is the politicians haven't told Border Patrol to seal the border and to make sure that they stop foreign nationals from coming into the United States. So again, Border Patrol is not stopping foreign nationals. They are processing people once foreign nationals come into the United States. And unfortunately, there is such a flood of illegal foreign nationals coming across our border that it's very difficult for Border Patrol to deal with the massive amount of dangerous drugs that are coming in. Heroin, methamphetamine, cocaine, marijuana, and prescription drugs.
Thank you so much. We are going to do our other polling question of the night. Do you think Congress should end President Obama's DACA program that grants amnesty and work permits to illegal aliens? If you think the answer is yes, press 1. If you think it's no, press 2. And if you're unsure, press 3. Here goes again. Do you think Congress should end President Obama's DACA program that grants amnesty and work permits to illegal aliens? If you think the answer is yes, press 1. No, press 2. And if you're unsure, press 3. We really appreciate your participation. Our next question is coming up from Jim. Jim wants to know what else Americans can do to protest this surge.
Well, I believe that NumbersUSA is handling this exactly right. Because the House of Representatives will be taking a vote on Thursday, that's where you need to focus your effort. And I would take your address book in your phone or on your computer, and I would email and text message everyone you know, give them the House switchboard number or the number of your member of Congress, and tell them you have, I wouldn't even worry about the Senate right now. I would just call the House of Representatives, your member of Congress. I would melt the phone lines and tell them, don't you dare vote for any bill that doesn't secure our border. And tell them that this bill does not do enough. It does not repeal the big bait of why people are coming, and that's the president who has effectively said, if you come into the United States and you're under the age of 30, you don't have to go back. And if you're a woman with children, you don't have to go back. And that's what the president has allowed. Plus, they get work permits when they come in. It's just absolutely mind-boggling, and this bill does nothing to address it. So I would just encourage you to melt the phone lines, talk to your member of Congress, Now, I spoke to some people in leadership today, and I told them they had to include the ending this DACA program from the president. And so who knows? We actually might prevail. If leadership can't get their votes this week, and I don't think they have them now, if they can't get the votes, they may have to include this DACA language to get rid of it. And that's where your voice can be extremely important. So please, make the call this week to your member of Congress and tell them the current bill doesn't go far enough. You need to end this DACA program.
Thank you so much on that. Now, I want to remind people another way for call for action. Rosemary, could you tell us again the call to action via the website, please?
Yes, if you go to NumbersUSA.com and go to your action board, you will have the phone numbers to call, and we've actually provided some toll-free numbers in the alerts that have been emailed out, so you can call toll-free your member of Congress, your House of Representatives member, and tell them vote no on the border supplemental because it does not solve the crisis and it does not stop Obama's amnesty. If you want to add something to that, you can ask them to support the Blackburn bill that actually defunds President Obama's DACA program. That's one way that we are targeting the defunding where Congress holds the power of the purse. So vote no on the border supplemental, and we really, really need those phone calls rolling in all day tomorrow and all day Wednesday. All day tomorrow and Thursday as well.
Rosemary, if I could just add, I've been in Congress for 8 years. When I first came into Congress, John McCain had an amnesty bill. And I will tell you, there were more phone calls that melted our phone lines on rejecting amnesty for illegal aliens, John McCain's bill, than there even were for getting rid of Obamacare. I thought it wouldn't be possible to have more phone calls than not passing Obamacare. But actually, amnesty for illegal aliens surpassed that. We had a huge number of Tea Party Republicans that came in the year 2000. That was the year when the Tea Party prevailed and we had a lot of freshmen come in. Those freshmen missed those phone calls. They have no idea how the American people really feel about this issue. I think that a lot of new members of Congress will be shocked at the backlash when they go home. If they vote for this border bill that does not repeal and end this DACA program, they're going to be shocked at their town hall meetings, what people are going to say. And so that's why you will do these Republican members of Congress a favor who've never gone through this fight before and let them know you are going to hold their feet to the fire because you want our border sealed. Sealed.
Yep. And I will tell you, Congressman, that a lot of the people in the audience on this call tonight were actually the ones who were making those phone calls back in 2007 and 2008. They've been through this before. We've been through this before, and we need to do it again. This is absolutely critical. If we do not stop this bill, if we do not stop DACA, the problem is only going to get worse.
Right. That's exactly right, Rosemary.
We're going to take another question in a second. I just wanted to remind people that if they had an inclination to donate, we can give you a call back in the next week. You can press 77 on the keypad on your phone now, and we'll give you a call, like we said, in the next week. But we still want you to do that call to action, as Rosemary described before. Tomorrow, get on that website if you would, and call Congress. Next question comes in from David. Why are we paying for illegals when we have homeless veterans?
Oh, that is probably the best question and the saddest question. I had an Iraq war veteran, a guy who couldn't have been more than 30 years of age, come up to me on the plane when I was flying in from Minnesota. And he said he has waited for over a year to get in and have his knee dealt with. He had an injury when he served in Iraq. A veteran, under 30, can't get in and have his knee taken care of, and he's waiting over a year, and he can't get a call back to even get an appointment over a year. And when I was down in Texas, I saw illegal aliens who all Catholic Charities had to do is pick up a phone and call the ambulance, and the illegal alien would go in and they would get their health care and they would get it paid for. I was talking to a Hispanic who was a park ranger. in a park on the Rio Grande. And he said, he said, if I go down to the emergency room, I'm forced to have insurance under Obamacare. I pay really expensive premiums and a big deductible. And I have to pay that before I get my health care. Illegals come in here, someone drives them here, an ambulance brings them here, and they get the health care, and we pay the bill. He said, how could this be fair? And to our veterans, to make our veterans stand in line and not get care, and illegals get care in 10 minutes, we have got a mess on our hands. And we've got I hate to say this, but we have a terrible president. And he is evidencing that he doesn't care about veterans, he doesn't care about the American people, but what he does care about is having you and me paying for his voter registration drive so that his party will be a permanent party in every presidential election in the future and in midterms. Well, I think that we're a stronger country than that. I think we're a better country than that. And I think that you aren't going to stand for this. I think that you're going to make the phone calls. I think you're going to help to keep this organization going because you love this country more than life itself. I know I do. Every one of us would stand and fight for this country, and a lot of brave men and women have died for this country. And so we've got to be heroes for the people who are willing to die for this country, and we need to stand up for our veterans and their rights in this country more so than the foreign nationals who are breaking our laws.
We had a polling question in earlier tonight. Do you think Congress should provide additional funding to President Obama to deal with the border situation? Guess what? 94% said no, 3% yes, and 3% were unsure. Your thoughts, please.
Well, I would say this is the common sense club, the people that are on this call tonight. Again, I think that you represent America far more than the politicians in the United States even begin to understand. 2 weeks ago in the Republican House conference, we were talking about this immigration issue, and member after member went to the microphone, and this is what I thought. These members are at the microphone saying what they think John Boehner wants to hear, and that's who they thought their audience was, John Boehner and the leadership who want to pass these bills to help out illegal aliens. And I thought to myself, wouldn't it be great if this room was ringed with the constituents of these members of Congress? I think that what they say at the microphone would be far different than what I'm hearing them say. Rather than trying to please John Boehner, I think they would be saying words to please the people back home. That's why this is your week and your opportunity to speak to your member of Congress and tell them what you think so that you aren't taking a ride and so this country still has a chance. Remember, this is now Wednesday. Is this Wednesday today or Tuesday? This is Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
Okay, so it's Tuesday. There isn't much time. We have tonight, we have Wednesday, and then Thursday morning, they're going to vote on this bill. So we don't have a lot of time, but we have enough time to melt the phone line. So please, call, have everyone you know call, have people in your church, at work, your organization, your relatives, your neighbor next door, your dog and your cat, if they have a cell phone. Just have everybody call and melt the phone lines, get these members' attention, and send them a message they won't forget before they go home for the August break.
And Rosemary, Rosemary, before we take the next question, tell us again on NumbersUSA.com how we go about doing that, please.
NumbersUSA.com, go to your action board, and you will find all the information you need, including talking points to call your representative and tell them to vote no on the border supplemental. And I would also add that I know we have been asking all of you in our membership to make a lot of phone calls this week, all to your congressmen. Do it again. Just call them again. Even if you've already done it, call them again as many times as you want to call, because it is so important to keep those phones ringing. I've actually sat in members' offices while the phones are ringing, while the poor staff assistant is trying to answer all those phones. Yes, sir, I understand. You want me to vote no on the border bill. I understand that. And it's a wonderful thing. The staff gets frustrated, but it's a wonderful thing to see, and it makes a huge difference.
It does.
Difference.
And let's do it live. Let me just throw this in. Try not to call so much tonight. Call more during the day, because they only have so many voicemails in their offices, and the whole idea is to call them live if you possibly can. It has more impact. So if you can do it during the day tomorrow, that would be great. You were going to say, Rosemary?
that's pretty much, I added in what I was going to say there. So go ahead with more questions.
I will. I'm sorry about that. William's next. Why can't local law enforcement arrest the illegals and put them in jail like we used to?
Well, they can and they do. When I talk to local law enforcement, they arrest people for crimes on the street. You know, in some cities and counties, they're called, quote, sanctuary cities, and they don't arrest people for legal status violations. And in some cases, they're prevented from asking. For instance, on the Obamacare bill, there is language in the Obamacare that prohibits government officials from asking legal residency status. So presumably, an individual could go to the county, apply for Obamacare, give the fact that they don't make any money, maybe get completely free health care, and they can't be asked what their legal status is. So when you're told, oh, illegal aliens can't get any benefits, that's not true. Their children go to our public schools, they receive police and fire and safety protection, and they also can get on the Obamacare program because government officials are prohibited from asking their status. President Obama wants to rename all of the foreign nationals in our country refugees. Well, the reason for that is once a person is relabeled a refugee, then the whole world of government benefits opens up to them. And it is literally like manna from heaven that comes down. So who in their right mind wouldn't come to the United States to take that deal? If you come from a country where the average income is $2,500 a year, and then you can come to the United States and access our welfare system, who wouldn't take that deal, especially when it's a free and open border and you have a guarantee from our president that you won't be sent back?
Let's take another question right away, please. We have about 18 minutes left. Mary is next. What do you think of Governor Perry's action, and do you think it makes do you think it's made a difference? Let me try it again. What do you think of Governor Perry's from Texas action, and do you think it's made a difference?
Well, I think it's a good action. I think Governor Perry did what he needed to do to protect the people in his state. I met with the Texas Rangers. I had a very long brief with the Texas Rangers, and they're doing a wonderful job. It's under the Department of Public Safety. I rode in their vans with them, and they were very honest with us about the problem. They told us that there aren't any more people coming through now across our border than there were last year, than the year before. It's the same number. The only thing that's changed is we have more women and children coming through because President Obama effectively guaranteed them that they wouldn't be sent back, and they aren't. So Governor Perry's action was right to put National Guard on the border and to put more law enforcement. But I will also tell you, we could have a National Guard member stationed every 3 feet on the border, and it wouldn't solve this problem if they are not stopping foreign nationals from coming in. And they aren't. They aren't stopping anyone. They aren't preventing anyone from coming on national soil, on American soil. They are allowing people to come on our soil, and then we begin the people processing process. As I said, they get a medical exam, they get food, they get clothing, they get a place to rest. They're handled extremely humanely. So we aren't going to stop this. And it comes at a huge price. Governor Perry is going to run out of money. I believe it's by the end of the year, which means the federal taxpayer will pick up the tab. Well, we should pick up the tab. If it's the National Guard, we should pick it up. But let's solve the problem. Let's not Band-Aid it. I think that Governor Perry is doing the best that he can do within his powers. But the real answer comes from Congress. Congress has already authorized building the fence. We already paid for it once. The problem was George W. Bush wouldn't build the fence, at least not all of it, and Barack Obama is not building any of it. So we have to build a real fence, at least a huge barrier wall in the middle. We should use eminent domain to gain all the land we need, and then 2 fences. We should have them patrolled with dogs and whatever in between the various fences, and Border Patrol agents. It should be well lit. It should have electronic surveillance equipment, and then the water should also be patrolled 24/7. That's a real border system, and anyone who gets, and tunnel detection equipment, and anyone who gets through needs to be adjudicated on the spot and deported immediately. That's a real border security system, and you would see our border secured. I also believe that we need to deport people who are here in the United States today illegally. We probably won't be deporting people who have lived here for 50 and 60 years, not even for 20 and 25 years. That's probably not going to happen. But I think that we should deport, let's pick a number, people who've been here 10 years. If you're here illegally, you should be deported. You should be deported, and you should get at the back of the line because, again, the United States allows legal immigration more than every other country of the world combined. And so you need to get in line. It isn't your right to self-select that you get to come in our country. It is our decision who comes in the country because we are the ones that have to pick up the cost if something happens to the people who come in our country. And there's a lot we could say about the social security system and also the social risks that people are put through. And I think that what we need to do is we need to highlight every crime that is committed by illegal aliens in America. And those people who support amnesty need to answer for the crimes that are being committed by illegal aliens.
I want to just step in here, Congresswoman, and emphasize what you've just been saying because I think this is a critical point. By calling your members of Congress and telling them to vote no on the border surge bill, we're not asking you to call them and tell them to do nothing because the bottom line is that Congress has already passed all of the laws that this president needs to actually solve the problem if he wants to. There are laws on the books that he can use today to ensure that the illegal aliens coming across our border are removed immediately. It's called expedited removal. He can build the fence. He can implement the entry-exit system that has been in the law for 17 years. There are so many laws on the books already that he could use if he wanted to solve this problem today.
Thank you so much. We're going to take another question in a minute. I want to remind people, and this will be the last ask, these calls cost money to get everybody activated and calling Congress and keeping them informed, and the Congresswoman has been so gracious to invest her time to keep you totally informed. If you wouldn't mind, please press 7 on the keypad on your phone, and what will happen is we'll give you a shout back in the next week or so and see if you can donate. So press 7. If you have an interest in donating, we really appreciate it. We're going to take our next question. It's Odessa. Michele, why don't we apply more pressure on Mexico? They can do more. Private trains are bringing them to the border.
Yes, they are. And again, this is my suggestion. Mexico, El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala live off of the remittances, the money that illegal foreign nationals make in the United States and send back home. Those governments laugh at President Obama and they laugh at us because we have complete open borders. And these nations, these corrupt governments, work with the international criminal cartels to facilitate the dangerous drugs traffic and the human trafficking of illegal foreign nationals into the United States. That's why I believe we need to have a 100% tax on the remittances into those countries. Then we'll get these countries' attention. Then they will pull back. And the other thing we need to do is we need to effectively neutralize these extremely dangerous gangs. Because make no mistake about it, these gangs will be stronger and more empowered in the United States. And we will see more heinous acts so gory that you can't believe how ugly these gangs are, the brutality that they'll be bringing into our streets, not just New York City, not just Los Angeles, but in small towns, in places all across the United States. Because if you thought Al Capone was something, wait until you see MS-13. And gang members are literally flowing freely back and forth. They come into the United States, a lot of them have U.S. passports, and they go back and forth to conduct their business. As a matter of fact, one of the Texas Rangers had me in his truck, and he drove me into a neighborhood where Mexican cartel leaders live. They don't want to live in northern Mexico, So they live in a very nice gated community just outside of McAllen, Texas, and they're mini mansions, and they all live together. And so we drove through the neighborhoods with their manicured lawns and their brick mansions and their swimming pools in the backyards. These are kingpins in the international drug cartel. They live in the United States. And what we should be doing is bringing charges against these people and deporting them, putting them in prison or deporting them or seizing their assets. What we need to do is get serious and recognize that there is a war that's being waged against us. And only one team has their jerseys on and is on the field. And we're rolling around looking at each other. All the while our pockets are being picked and innocent people are being killed by illegal aliens and hurt and robbed and beaten and raped by criminal foreign nationals that are in our country. And I, for one, believe that all of you on this phone call love this country more than life itself. We are doing everything we can to hold on to this magnificent country as we see it literally fall like sand between our fingers. Well, we can do something. We're not without tools. What we can do is we can call between now and early Thursday and urge everyone we know to call and support great organizations like NumbersUSA. Together, we really can make a difference. I'm not kidding. I'm not saying it. We really can. If we melt these phone lines, we can change the course of this legislation by Thursday because all the members will feel the heat and they won't let John Boehner get away with this bill. So now is your chance. Now is your chance to rise up and do something. And I'm saying act now. Next week is too late. Friday is too late. You've got to act now. This is urgent.
Let's take another question. We're going to probably get about two more in if we can. We're going to take it from Carol. How can Congress take a break knowing that this is going on?
This is so ridiculous. This is an all-out emergency. Again, the video that I took Sunday afternoon at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm sending that to Rosemary and NumbersUSA so they can post it on their website. I'll have it up at bachmann.house.gov. You need to see it. This is what's happening, where we have brazen and broad daylight international drug cartels ferrying foreign nationals into our country, and we do nothing, and then 4 drug dealers go right behind and bring their drugs in, and we do nothing. This has got to end. And I think if you see this video, and if you show this video or tell your friends to go and see this video, they will get it that we have to do something. They will get it. And that's why we have to act. When you see what I saw, and when you hear that we effectively don't stop anyone, all we do is process people, that's not a serious government, and that's a loss of sovereignty. And again, it's another reason why we have to act. And what does this do to the future of our children? It robs our children. It takes away our American heritage and our country, our land, our freedom, our schools, our medical care. That's what we're losing. It comes at our expense. And that's why we have to rise up and stand up for our country if our president won't. We need to stand up for our children if our president won't. We need to stand up for our veterans if our president won't. We have to stand up for our schools if our president won't. We need to stand up for the English language if the president won't. But I feel very confident that we can count on you. I really do, because we don't need everyone. We need enough. And sometimes you just have to deal with what you have. And I think that we are enough to make the difference if we make the phone calls and if we let our voices be heard.
We have a question for Rosemary, and then we'll finish up with one last question for the Congresswoman, and we can begin wrapping from there. Karen asks, have emailed and called numerous times. What else can I personally do? Rosemary?
Well, first of all, Karen, I would say call again, call again, call again, call again. I know it's frustrating sometimes, and sometimes you get voicemails, and if you have a representative that doesn't really care about this issue, it's frustrating, but they still need to hear it. And here's the other thing. Even if your representative is the biggest amnesty supporter in Congress, it's still important to call because you're impacting the Capitol switchboard. You're melting the phone lines. you're contributing to the block of callers that is making a huge impact. If you were around with Numbers USA in 2007, we actually crashed the phone system with all the calls. So that's our goal right now. So call, call, call. That is the most important thing, and tell all of your friends and neighbors to call as well.
And if you want to, we're going to do one more question, and then have Congresswoman Bachmann do some wrap-up, and Rosemary finish up after that if we could. So here goes with the last question. Are the borders open because Democrats want cheap labor supplied?
Yes, they want cheap labor, and they also want to have free votes. That's what they want. People who are hooked on dependency programs, and they know that that's what they supply to people in the voting booth, and that's what they want. You've got people like Mark Zuckerberg, the originator of Facebook, who are out there calling for more amnesty for illegal aliens. Well, a study just came out at the end of June from CIS, and the study said this. In the last 14 years, from 2000 to 2014, all the new jobs that were created went to immigrants, both legal and illegal immigrants. There are fewer native-born Americans in the labor force today than there were in 2000. Our population has grown, but there's actually fewer native-born Americans in the labor force, people who have jobs. There is a historic high of 8.7 million college students who are unemployed. And the reason is because we have so many immigrants, legal and illegal, who have come into the country, and they work for far less wages. And so these big businesses love having cheap labor come in, mostly unskilled labor coming in. We pick up all the social costs, but they get the benefit of the cheap labor. And what that does is that puts pressure on all the other people that are unskilled. We have 40% of African American youth that are unemployed right now. So the one thing America doesn't need is more unskilled labor. We don't need it. We have a lot of unskilled labor in this country. And so the people that are coming in, Border Patrol told me, they don't have high school degrees. It usually, if it's women that are coming in, they don't speak English, they don't have a skill, they are illiterate, they don't have a husband, they don't have any money, and they have no means of support. Well, guess who's going to pay to take care of them, and guess who's going to pay to take care of their children? This is a very expensive proposition. But again, this is our moment, and this is our time when we can do something about it. And when the Obamacare debate came up, I had gone on a television show, and there was nothing else we could do. John Boehner basically waved the white flag of surrender on Obamacare and said, well, that's it, we can't do anything, Pelosi is going to pass the bill. And I thought, how could we stand by? So I went on a television show and said, you know what's very effective? If a constituent comes to your office and looks in the whites of your eyes and says, not with my health care you don't, there's nothing that a congressman fears more than actually seeing the whites of a constituent's eyes. And I know this is short notice, but if there are any of you that live nearby to Washington, D.C., and you could come in tomorrow and actually see your member of Congress, or make an appointment, or tell your member of Congress, I'm coming in and I expect you to see me because I'm going to drive X hours and I want to talk to you. Now, I realize it's impractical. I'm talking to you on Tuesday night. We're talking about Wednesday with a vote on Thursday morning. So I realize it's impractical. I realize it's at the last minute. But if there's anyone nearby, or if you know anyone who lives near Washington, D.C., and you feel strongly enough about this that you would come in, I encourage you, come in, come and see your member of Congress, tell them how important this is to you, but that's a big ask. So think of all that would be involved with coming here, and if you can't do that, then please put that time that it would take you to drive into calling. Call, and then call again, and get as many people as you know to do it, and spend all your time getting other people to call. It is really that important.
And I would add there, Congresswoman, that I have heard that several people across the country have called their members of Congress and said, we want you to vote no on Thursday, and we want to meet with you to explain your vote when you come home to the state.
Yes,
That's another effective way to do it. If you can't get to Washington, tell them you want to meet with them to talk about their vote when they get home for the town hall meetings and appointments.
Rosemary, that's a fabulous, fabulous idea, and especially if you say there are 25 of us, there are 50 of us, there are 200 of us, and then bring that many people out. There are 200 of us, and we want to meet with you to talk about that vote, however many you think that you can legitimately get together. And then get that many people together. Not only will you have the chance to talk about this vote, you'll be able to talk about a lot of other things with that member. How are they going to say no? If they say no, then you can write letters to the editor and say, I asked the member of Congress to meet with 200 constituents to talk about this issue, and he said no. Well, they're all up for election this November. They don't want that editorial written in their paper, trust me. And so now's the time to make that ask that Rosemary just mentioned, and you'll be shocked how many members of Congress would come out and meet with you.
Rosemary, bring us to the finish line if you would, please.
Well, I just have to say, before I close this up, that there is one question that I think we have seen more than any other tonight by far, and that is essentially, Congresswoman Bachmann, I'm a big supporter of yours. I hope you will run for president again. Just throwing that out there.
Thank you very much. I am not running for my seat in Congress again this fall, and I've had 8 years of fighting the good fight here in Washington. I'm not going to go anywhere. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do when I leave, but I want to focus all my time and attention on these issues rather than all the time that I spend on campaigning, because I realize that we're at a very strategic time in our country, and my goal right now is just to bring a voice on the national stage on these issues.
Well, we can't wait for that. And so I will close this up by just saying one more time, please make your phone calls to your member of Congress tomorrow. It is critically important. Tell them to vote no on the border surge bill because it does not solve the crisis and it does not stop Obama's executive amnesty. If you don't know the phone numbers, go to NumbersUSA.com, go to your action board, and you will find them. It's all very easy. We give you talking points. You'll probably get an email first thing in the morning from Roy Beck, our director, explaining exactly what to do. So again, thank you all for joining us on this call, and thank you, Congresswoman Bachmann. It is such a pleasure, as always, to have you with us, and we can't wait to post your video on our website.
Hey, thanks again. God bless you all. Be really encouraged and positive. We can do something really important.